The storm that night felt like the world was breaking. Rain pelted the highway in furious sheets, hissing against asphalt and echoing against the emptiness of the countryside. Trees swayed violently under the push of the wind. Puddles turned into streams that raced along the roadside. On that desolate road, a lone figure pressed forward, soaked to the bone. Captain Emily Hart. Her boots splashed through puddles with every heavy step. Her duffel bag weighed her down, straps digging into her shoulder. But the weight of the bag was nothing compared to the weight inside her chest. She had returned home from years of service overseas, but home felt more foreign than any battlefield she had ever stepped on. Her parents were gone. Her brother had cut off all contact. The town she once knew felt distant, like a place frozen in memory rather than reality. Emily carried medals in her bag, symbols of bravery, sacrifice, honor. But medals don't hug you when the nightmares come. They don't fill the silence when your heart feels like it's breaking. The rain fell harder. Her body shivered, her resolve cracking. And just when the night threatened to consume her completely, a pair of headlights appeared behind her. A white pickup truck slowed, engine growling low. It pulled onto the shoulder and stopped, tires crunching gravel. Emily froze, her instincts sharp from years of combat. Her hand twitched toward where her sidearm would have been, had she still carried one. But all she had now was instinct, weariness, and a quiet, desperate hope that this wasn't trouble. The driver's window rolled down. A man's voice called out through the storm. "You'll catch your death out there. Do you need a ride?" Emily studied his face. Rain blurred her vision, but she could still make out the features, early 40s, weathered, a jawline that suggested resilience, but eyes tired, soft, carrying a gentleness that seemed out of place in such a storm. She hesitated. Soldiers learn not to trust strangers easily. But her legs ached, her clothes clung to her skin, and the rain showed no mercy. With a small nod, she accepted. Moments later, she climbed into the cab of the truck. It smelled faintly of leather, rain, and pine-scented air freshener. A stuffed rabbit with one floppy ear sat in the back seat. The man gave a polite nod. "Name's Daniel. Daniel Reed." "Emily," she replied simply. The truck rumbled forward, headlights slicing through the curtain of rain. For several minutes, they rode in silence, the only sound the swish of wipers fighting the storm. Daniel spoke first, his voice steady but gentle. "My daughter's at home. Lily. She's 12. Bright kid, keeps me on my toes." His lips curved into a half-smile, though it faltered when he added softly, "Her mom, she passed away when Lily was little. It's just us now." Emily gave a small nod. She didn't respond with her own story. Soldiers often carried silence as their armor. But she noticed something. He wasn't pushing. He wasn't prying. Just a man who had stopped in the middle of a storm to help someone who looked like they needed it. And for the first time in a long while, Emily felt something rare. Safety. And right here, before we go deeper into Emily's journey, let me just pause. Stories like this about resilience, kindness, and unexpected connections are what we share every week on SoulTouch Stories. If you haven't already, take a second to subscribe. Because sometimes the story you need finds you when you least expect it. Emily thought she would never see Daniel again after that night. She was wrong. 3 days later, in a small, bare apartment she had rented with her savings, Emily sat staring at the walls. The silence pressed against her. The uniform she had folded neatly lay in a corner, medals tucked inside. They glimmered like ghosts, reminding her of what she had lost. Her heart felt like an empty battlefield. And then 3 soft raps at the door. Emily's breath caught. She wasn't expecting anyone. Slowly, she rose and opened the door just a crack. Daniel stood there, rain jacket dripping. Beside him, a girl with curious eyes clutched a small box wrapped in foil. "Hi," Daniel said, shifting awkwardly. "This is Lily. She insisted we come by. She baked cookies. We thought you could use some company." Emily blinked, unprepared. War had taught her to expect ambushes, not kindness. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, slowly, she opened the door wider. That evening, they sat around her small table. Lily talked about her favorite books, about how her dad couldn't cook to save his life, and about the science fair she was nervous about. Emily found herself laughing, a laugh she hadn't felt in years. And something shifted. The soldier, who had carried silence like a shield, felt warmth seep back into her chest. The weeks that followed unfolded like chapters of a book no one saw coming. Daniel fixed her leaky faucet and broken shelf, showing her how to hold a hammer steady. Emily helped Lily with her school projects, telling stories of resilience, not about war, but about courage and kindness. Together, the three of them formed something unexpected. But both adults carried scars. Daniel was a single father stretched thin balancing work at a repair shop with raising a daughter alone. He worried every night whether he was enough, whether Lily would grow up missing the mother she barely knew. Emily's scars were invisible but deep. Nightmares ripped her from sleep. She carried guilt for comrades who didn't make it back. She questioned whether she deserved laughter, love, or peace when others never got the chance. For months, they built a fragile, healing rhythm. Until one letter shattered it. The letter came in a plain envelope. Emily opened it with trembling H. That evening, they sat around her small table. Lily talked about her favorite books, about how her dad couldn't cook to save his life, and about the science fair she was nervous about. Emily found herself laughing, a laugh she hadn't felt in years. And something shifted. The soldier, who had carried silence like a shield, felt warmth seep back into her chest. The weeks that followed unfolded like chapters of a book no one saw coming. Daniel fixed her leaky faucet and broken shelf, showing her how to hold a hammer steady. Emily helped Lily with her school projects, telling stories of resilience, not about war, but about courage and kindness. Together, the three of them formed something unexpected. But both adults carried scars. Daniel was a single father stretched thin balancing work at a repair shop with raising a daughter alone. He worried every night whether he was enough, whether Lily would grow up missing the mother she barely knew. Emily's scars were invisible but deep. Nightmares ripped her from sleep. She carried guilt for comrades who didn't make it back. She questioned whether she deserved laughter, love, or peace when others never got the chance. For months, they built a fragile, healing rhythm. Until one letter shattered it. The letter came in a plain envelope. Emily opened it with trembling hands. Inside, news that one of her closest comrades had taken his own life. Her vision blurred. Her chest tightened. The walls of her apartment seemed to close in. She collapsed onto the couch, clutching the paper, her body trembling with grief. In her mind, she heard the screams of battle, saw faces she couldn't save, felt the crushing truth, she was alive while so many weren't. She shut herself away, drowning in guilt. She didn't answer calls. She didn't open the door. Until a knock. This time louder, urgent. Emily, Daniel's voice called, muffled but strong. I know you're in there. Please, don't do this. She pressed her back against the door, tears streaming silently. You don't have to carry this alone. His voice cracked. I know what it's like to feel like the world has left you behind. But you matter, to me, to Lily. You're family now. Please, let us in. Silence stretched. Her hand trembled on the doorknob. And then, slowly, she opened it. Daniel stood there in the rain, his eyes filled with desperation, not pity, but determination. He stepped inside, and without hesitation, wrapped her in his arms. It wasn't a hug that erased the pain. It was a hug that said, I will carry this with you. And for the first time since returning, Emily allowed herself to break, not as a soldier, but as a human who needed saving. Months turned into seasons. Emily began volunteering at a veterans center, helping others face the same invisible wounds. She learned that healing wasn't about forgetting, it was about sharing the burden so it didn't crush you. Daniel, inspired by her strength, opened his own repair shop. It gave him more time with Lily, and for the first time in years, he allowed himself to dream beyond survival. And Lily? She blossomed with Emily's guidance. She won her science fair. She laughed louder, smiled brighter, and sometimes slipped her hand into Emily's as if it had always belonged there. Their bond deepened, not rushed, not forced, but built on trust, compassion, and the bravery to let go of fear. And it all began with a storm and a knock. If you stayed with this story until now, I want to thank you. This is what SoulTouch Stories is all about, reminders that kindness and courage can change lives in ways we never expect. If this touched you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive and reaching those who need them. Years later, Emily often thought back to that night. She realized her life didn't change in the grand noise of war, but in the quiet moments. A truck pulling over in the rain. A daughter offering cookies. A knock reminding her she wasn't alone. The storm that once felt like punishment had been the beginning of her healing. And when people asked her how she found a new family, a new life, she would simply smile and say, "Sometimes the knock you're afraid to answer is the one that saves you."